For triples, I should be able to do a triple at about 190 now. So just because you can do it, doesn't mean like that's what you do every session. So strategy that I didn't have. I trained for the first decade of my career, like most people, just come in and train as hard as you can, train to fail on everything. And the progression was slow, right? So now that I have the strategy, and this is what people can't get their heads around, how can I get better if I'm not training as hard as I can? Well, you kind of will be training as hard as you can, just not every single time.
Let me put water on my arms.
This is my pre-workout. Thank you very much. Hang on a second. Is this for you? Did you, Musti, get the same drink as me? Did you get a long black with honey? I've converted you. Hey, who else have I converted? Honestly, put in the comments. Who's doing long blacks with honey? I've had a few people comment saying, life changer. Yeah, I don't know if it's life changer, but it's a pretty good coffee. Anyway, what are we doing today? We're benching. This is Friday. Busy week. I did seminars last week, seminars this week, and I've had less time to train. So this is my only bench press session this week. Pretty tired, all that stuff, whatever. Let's see how we go today. My last bench press session, I did 205 kilogram for one, so I'm not going to be doing my top single. This guy's fighting 100 men. Have you seen that? The gorilla versus the silverback versus 100 men. So he's got a few things that he needs to consider. He's going to be training hard to fight 100 men. We'll see. Watch this space. Go and follow him. That's godly strong. Do you know who that is? Yeah, he's the silverback. Yeah, watch this space. I'm going to do some bench press volume, not a huge amount. And I'm not going too heavy because my last bench press session, I did a 205. That's the tips for you guys. You don't go heavy, 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 heavy. If I go over 200 kilograms in a week, don't do that again. That's for me anyway. And usually when I write programs for strong people, did the same for that guy. He bench pressed 280 kilograms. So worked for him, worked for me, worked for actually advice that I got from Kirill Sarchev, which is where I learn all of my bench press technique in the first place. And he does bench pressing 2 times per week, one heavy, one light. There's one more thing that I need to do today, and that is one of my boys on my team, Ollie, he said, can you bench press 100 kilograms for 30 reps? And I thought, I think I can. So that's what I'll probably do as a bit of a back down set after this is try and do 30 reps. Last time I did 100 kilograms, I did over 40. All right, so we're going to do some Spotto press today, this new program. So the last phase, if you saw, I did a 205 kilo bench press, which is great. I want to beat that. But you don't just keep on coming in and retesting your max. So what we do, it's like I say, you don't break through the brick wall, we come around the brick wall. So that's what I'm doing with my squats, is I got it to 300 kilograms, great, we tick that box. Now we're coming back and I'm doing paused squats, and that's the same with here. I'm going to change the technique to one of my favorite bench press techniques, to learn all sorts of things. It's called a Spotto press. So that's named after former #1 bencher in the world. His name is Eric Spotto. And when he used to do his bench press, he used to not touch his chest. And I don't even think that he paused it. But nowadays, people bastardize that technique, myself included. And we call the Spotto press, where you do the bench press and you pause an inch off your chest. So you don't quite touch the chest. So I'm not sure if that's exactly how he did it, like with a pause. I know that he used to rep it out and not touch the chest, and people would say, you're cheating, cheating, cheating. But then all of a sudden he had a world record bench press. I think it was like 322 kilograms, give or take, somewhere around that mark, which was the best in the world raw. So it's funny how everyone says you're cheating, you're not doing it properly, but then all of a sudden it's better than everyone else. Anyhow, something I like about doing the Spotto press the way that I'm going to be doing it, which is pausing just an inch off the chest, is it teaches you how to stay tight in the bottom position. Just like the squat, the pause squat teaches you how to stay tight in the bottom position. That's what pausing anything does. It teaches you how to hold the weight with muscles rather than just dumping it on your chest or bouncing it on in the bottom position, which is going to make you, one, strong off the chest, but also something I like about pauses. A lot of people think you're spending more time under tension in that position where you're pausing. Yes, you are. Yes, it does make that stronger. But it also teaches you how to stay tight in the weakest position. Okay, so you cannot be too strong off the chest, right? So here's an interesting thing. So I talk about how do you know if you're lacking tension? So it's like a basketball bouncing. The speed up should match the speed down, right? So with the bench press, if it's slow off the chest, it's like, that's how we know you lack tension. So you shouldn't be slow off any part. And slow off the chest means not that you're necessarily weak off the chest. Sometimes yes, but but a lot of times, no. Most times, it's because you lack the understanding of how to maintain tension in that bottom position. So Spotto press is the perfect accessory bench press exercise for you. 2 sets of 60, so now this is 80. My Spotto press is typically 10% weaker than my normal bench press. So if that's the case, for triples, I should be able to do a triple at about 190 now. So just because you can do it doesn't mean like that's what you do every session. So that would be my absolute max. So if my absolute max is 190, 10% less than that, call it 20 kilograms less, is 170. So I should be able to do 170 for triples with a Spotto press, just using that logic, right? But that would be my limit. And I don't want to train at my limit. I want to leave repetitions in reserve, especially considering it's week 1 of my program. So week 1 of the program, don't go to fail. Leave repetitions in reserve. This is a common argument and discussion that people have with, should you train to fail or not? The answer is sometimes yes, sometimes no. When should you? Well, for light exercises for building muscle, like bicep curls, tricep extensions, absolutely. Take it to fail. To be honest, you can. You can also have a, like, that's the thing, it's like there's no black and white, like always you should do this. Like, but with those isolation exercises, they have a low cost of fatigue. So if you do train them to fail every single time, it's probably not going to do that much harm. It could be a good idea. But if you train all of your big compound movements to fail every single time, that's where, you know, it increases fatigue, firstly. So a lot of people say, when you fail big exercise, you increase risk of injury. Not always. You've got to be lifting heavy enough to be able to injure yourself. Human bodies are pretty strong, pretty resilient. Training to fail isn't always about reducing risk of injury, okay? But technical breakdown is a huge part of, well, avoiding technical breakdown is a huge part of strength training because skill and technique matters when it comes to strength training. Avoiding technical breakdown so that we can refine the pattern, refine the skill of the movement. When you're grinding out and you're having to break form to complete the lift, you're reinforcing shitty technique, so don't do that. The next thing, with these big compound movements, I talk about my 4 weekly programs. So it doesn't have to be 4 weeks, could be 5, 6, 8, whatever, you can justify. I like 4 weekly programs. What you want to be doing is progressing every time you come into the gym. So to progress every time you come into the gym, you need some type of a strategy. Imagine you train as hard as you can on week 1, right, and take it to fail. So that's me saying, I should be able to do 170 kilograms for triples. And I come in and I grind out 170 kilograms for a triple. Like, I think I'd be able to, but it would be really, really, really hard. What happens next week? What do I go to next week? Do I get 172.5 next week? Is that a great progression? It kind of is, but it's not fun to be grinding out and just getting it. And then next week, you only got by a little bit. That's probably like a 1%, 1.5% increase in strength, in load. Is that fun? No, it's not always about fun, but I'd prefer to do this. Start more conservative. So if I say roughly I should be able to do 170, maybe I'll start on 160. Okay, refine the movement, learn the demands of the program. This is the first time I've done a Spotto press in some time, so it'll feel slightly unfamiliar for me, right? So maybe 160 will be hard. I don't know, but that's the beauty of week 1. 160 kilograms, which is my predicted sub-max. Right? So I'm predicting that I should have repetitions in reserve. What that's going to do is allow me to practice the movement and understand how hard actually is it, and then I'm going to have a better indication of where should I jump to on week 2. Do I jump to, is it so easy that I can jump to 170? Great. Is it hard? Okay, great. Well, then it's like, if it's hard, then lucky I didn't do 170 on week 1. But that's the reason why I like to start conservative, is to allow room to make those decisions, because every time I come into the gym, I want to go up. I want to add weight to the bar. And the next alternative is if I went for 170, which is, you know, 10% lighter than my, so as I said, remember, Spotto press is like 10% weaker than your normal press, right? So that's 10% load reduction. That means 170 should be my max. Like, let's just say I do it and it's like I overshot it and I failed reps. What do I do next week? Try and do it again and not fail? Or do I reduce the weight so that I can get the prescribed reps and sets? Either one of those options I don't like. I'd rather start light, learn the demands of the program, give yourself room to be able to go up by like a good jump, like 5% every single week, which is what I'm going to try and do today. Same technique, exactly the same technique. You don't have to. You can do like close grip Spotto press or mid grip Spotto press or incline Spotto press. But for this, I am going to be doing, because I'm a you know, an advanced bench presser, I like to keep that same movement every single week at least once. So that's what I'm going to be doing with this. Feeling okay.
Another thing I realized, you warm up the technique that you're going to use with.
For sure, yeah, that's not black and white, you have to do that, but I highly recommend it. Like, why not practice the skill in your warm-up sets? So some people just warm up by doing normal benches, and then it's like, okay, cool. Now we're at the top weight, so now let's do the Spotto press. Practice the movement. Everything that we do, skill is involved. So my warm-up sets, I want to do the exact same technique that I'm going to be doing in my top sets.
Within 3 sets of 3?
Yeah, I think that's 3 by 3 on 160 Spotto press. And I would like, so if all goes to plan, I'd like to go week 1, 160 for 3 by 3, and then go up by 5 kilograms every week. 60, 65, 70, and then on week 4, 175. If I can get 175 for 3 by 3 on week 4, and it's easy, and then I retest my max, it should be a little bit heavier. 2 days ago, I squatted heavy. Yesterday, I did boxing, so I'm doing that 2 times per week. So the unrack position is not feeling very comfortable on my shoulders, so I'm gonna try a new technique. It's not new to me, it's new to you guys. I haven't really shown you this, but it's good for self-unracking and self-unracking if you're not maxing out. I don't slide back as I normally do, okay? I'm using the bench here, and I'm, you know, behind me, I was trying to see where you are, and I lift my hips up, so I'm in a decline position. You see that? So the advantages of that, the unrack is strong. So it puts me in a position where it's in a decline and I can just press, and then when I lower my weight, I don't change my shoulder position. That's the pros. The cons of that is I can't get my feet as far back as I normally would in competition, as if I slid back, brought my foot back, dig my feet in, and then slide forward. So it's not as much tension, but it's safer on the shoulders for the unrack. So there's pros and cons of everything that we do. I'm sure some of the powerlifting fans are gonna look at that and go, there's a new rule against that in the IPF. You're not allowed to bring your feet up on the bench. That's true, but I'm gonna tell you something cool about this is I'm not in the IPF, I'm in base gym, and I can train however I like. So a lot of the times when I do these things, people say, you can't do it because it's against the rules. Well, what rules? That's funny. I don't know if you saw when I was unracking it, the position, because it's just new. Well, done it before, but it's kind of new again. So it's like my orientation is a little bit off, but that's okay. That's fine. It's actually stronger for the unrack. But then when I bring my feet down, I'm not quite as tight. But then, you know, I came down, paused, then it was like, oh, easy, easy. So hopefully 160 is easy like that. It's always heavy, and there's risk of injury with 160 for sure. But, you know, I'm pretty comfortable that it's not going to be maximal. It's sub-maximal this weight, which is where you should start on week 1. When you're familiarizing yourself with a new phase, don't max out. You don't want to be grinding reps. And then I'll tell you what happens. Your body adapts real quick. Human bodies are really clever. So this is called neural adaptations. So there's 2 types of adaptations you can achieve in the gym, neural and cellular. So the neural adaptation is essentially your brain's ability to talk to your body and you're building coordination. And cellular adaptation is building muscle. So after 1 session, you don't really build muscle. So that's what happens. If you go too heavy, you're ingraining shitty patterns, right? And your brain is trying to figure out what you want to do and be better at a shitty pattern. Whereas, don't go to fail, be submaximal, use a lower RPE, refine a good pattern, and then the neural adaptations that you get, the brain figures out, that technique's nice, I figured it out, next week, I'm gonna allow you to do a lot better. So a lot of the times, so let's just say today's 160, you'll see. Next week I'll go for, I haven't done it yet, I'm talking like I've done it, but you'll see. You'll see what I get. And then next week I'll add, maybe 5 kilograms. And the plan is it should be not really harder, even though I'm going heavier. That's the neural adaptation. Yeah, bro. Oh man, so I'm 43 years old. Dabbled in it when I was 16, and then I stopped. But then I started properly at the age of 19. So you could say training, like when I was a fanatic at the age of 19. I was a skinny guy. Let me finish on this one. I was a skinny guy. I was this height, so 5'11", or 179, so just under 5'11". And I was 63 kilograms. Today I'm 100. So I was 63 kilograms. And I met this girl who ended up being my missus. That's Felicia. Married her eventually, but at first, our first date was on the beach. And I was like, oh man, I have to take off my t-shirt with this hot girl. And she's gonna look at my skinny body, and I thought, fuck that. I'm sick of being in that position, man. I'm gonna train. So I went to my big brother, Cameron, and he was training with weights. He was jacked. And I said, bro, you gotta fucking make me bigger. And so I trained with him every day. So it's 4 days a week from then, like a fanatic, nonstop. So I first started doing my weights because I wanted to build muscle and look good to impress a chick. Then I got bored of muscle building and bodybuilding. And then I was introduced to strength training. And that's how I became a power lifter, because I preferred to do, like track my progress and lift heavier and heavier weights than, the aesthetics game. So yeah, 63 kilograms is when I started, at the same height that I am today, 19 years old. So it's been 24 years. Yeah, it's been a long one.
Yeah, 2 more.
Tell me.
Your milestones on the bench press, like the first 100, the first 140.
Oh yeah, so the first 100 was pretty quick. I bench pressed very frequently when I first started. I didn't train legs when I first started either. So the way that I trained with my brother, I didn't really care about my lower body. I just wanted to get the abs and the pecs. That's how most people train when they first start. Come walk with me. I've got to get here it is. Where will I set up my camera? I'll figure it out. I'll do multiple sets. Anyhow, my bench press, my first 100 kilograms, I was benching 2 to 3 times per week when I first started. And I got to my first 100 kilograms probably in about 6 months.
Wow, that's insane.
Maybe even less, to be honest with you. I was benching a lot. That's all I really gave a shit about. I didn't know much about training, like I sucked at everything else. But my bench press, I got to 100. But then to get to 140, so those are the increments in Australia. 100 is 2 plates, 140 is 3 plates. That took me years. I would say another, I don't know, maybe 8 years. Not because that's how long it takes, because I didn't know how to do it. I was just pushing the heavy thing off the chest and just trying to go heavy every single time. And that's not the best approach. So I'd plateaued a lot on my bench press for a long period of time until I learned the powerlifting technique. Then I got from 140, well actually the day that I tested 140, I ended up getting 145. But then after I did that, maybe about 2 years later, I got 180. How's that? Yeah, because I learned how to do it, and I started learning, this is what I always say, the smarter you get, the stronger you get. So I wasn't very smart when I first started. I just came in and just tried to push as hard as I could, right? And just lift heavier and heavier weights, and it didn't work out because I didn't set myself up with an intelligent lifting strategy, which is what I'm teaching you guys, is the strategy of treating your training like it's a marathon. Don't come in on week 1 and train as hard as you can. You got to come in, start like I'm doing now. Give yourself room to be able to make errors if you need to, and room to be able to progress from week to week. So that's the strategy that I didn't have. I trained for the first decade of my career, like most people, just come in and train as hard as you can, train to fail on everything, and the progression was slow, right? So now that I have the strategy, and this is what people can't get their heads around, how can I get better if I'm not training as hard as I can? Well, you kind of will be training as hard as you can, just not every single time, right? So you can see I'm not training as hard as I can, but I'm training pretty hard, right? You'll see, this is like, relatively, I should be able to do more reps. I'll have reps in reserve. So you look at it and go, easy, but I've got to push pretty hard, right? Okay, let's go. Set 1. Set 1, I need 3 reps. Good one. Yeah, real easy. Real easy. So it's just unfamiliarity. See how slowly I came down? That's because my shoulders and arms are sore from squatting. That's my telltale, for me anyway. If you ever see me coming down really slow, it's because I'm guarding the pain. So ideally, if I was to train for a competition, when you do all the deloading and all that stuff, you want it to be in the position where you come in on comp day and you're not battling any sorenesses. So then you'll be able to come down a little bit faster. So for now, the discomfort, I'm slightly out of position because I'm unracking myself as well. So when I have someone unrack me, I'll be in a much nicer start position. But either way, that's another reason why I like to start conservative. You start too heavy on week one, especially with, you're learning a new technique, no spotter. No, it's fine. Maybe on the next week, if I don't have a spotter. But let's have a look at the replay. Slow, pause, good, and fast. Real smooth. I'll tell you another strategy when it comes to training to fail, and I'm thinking of doing this. So week one is kind of like calibrating. I'm figuring out, is that the right weight? The next thing I could do, which is an intelligent approach, is AMRAP the last set. So that's going to allow me to go, is there a 4th rep or even a 5th rep? If I can do that, then I'll come in next week going, that was really easy. Maybe I can go up to 170 next week, who knows? Or maybe not even. Maybe I'll stick to 165, I'll AMRAP the last set, stick to 185. So week one, 163 by 3, but the 3rd set we'll AMRAP it. See if we can get a 4th or a 5th rep. Next week we go 165 and do the same thing. 3 on the first 2 reps and then AMRAP the 4th. Sorry, 3 on the first 2 sets.
You wanna catch your breath?
No, I'm okay, I'm not puffed out from that. That was pretty comfortable, that was very easy, as you could see. So I'll go, yeah, I'm gonna try and do that. We'll see, I'll do the next set, see how that goes. And then on the 3rd set, like it's funny, it feels heavy in my hands because my body's tired. It feels heavy in my hands and it's like, but then it just goes, yeah, which is what you want on week one. All right, so I'm doing 8-minute rest. 8 minutes seems long to people. For me, it is long considering I didn't go to a real high RPE, but I want the whole session to be easy, especially for these. I'll do lesser rests like in the accessories. Set 2. Eyes behind the bar, remember? Mouth is in line with the bar. People say, come down further so your eyes in line with the bar. You've got to reach back way too far. Don't do that. Come up a bit higher. So all you need to really do is just unrack it enough to clear the rack when you come down so you don't bump on this thing. That's all. All right, let's go. Big focus. Good one. Yeah, isn't that funny how the body works, right? I told you, the human body's pretty smart. We figure things out real quick. So that's from set 1 to set 2, I figured it out a little bit better. So the same thing will happen from week 1 to week 2. The biggest adaptations you make with strength training, especially initially, is neural adaptation, which is why technique matters. You want to ingrain the correct pathways from the start. When you're breaking down technique and you're missing reps, you're enforcing the wrong technique.
We see a lot of comments like they follow the journey and then they tag along and they get stronger too.
Yeah, I've heard people get stronger from watching me. I know someone very well that does that. Is that you, Musti?
No, we actually get comments. Have you seen them? They say like, oh, I started doing like this and that, now my max is like...
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. Because I'm very generous with my information, right? This is the stuff, I've never really had a huge amount of guidance. You know, when I first started that many years ago, like I said, my brother, of course, but he was the same as me. We were beginners and we just wanted to get big jacked upper bodies. We didn't really care for legs or anything like that. Silly mistake, but whatever. But in the industry, it took me 10 years to learn the powerlifting techniques. You know, the arch and the bench press, the low bar squat. I didn't know that. There was not many people teaching all those things, which is why when I first started, as a coach, when I first learned it was like a breakthrough. It was like, oh my goodness, look how quick I can get these results. And I started posting that stuff on social media and people started liking it. And then people started learning who I was and reaching out to me and asking me to coach them. And that's how I built my reputation. All I did was I was a fanatic with my training, got really excited about the techniques that I learned, started teaching everyone else, like I'm doing for you guys. I was like, try this technique, I promise you, it makes you strong. That's how I built my reputation and built my business. That's all I do. That's all I did. I was a fanatic with my training. Now, it's like I look back at that and it's like, damn, if I had someone on social media that was posting like Australian strength coach every day on tips to get stronger and lift heavy weights and doing all those things. If I had that, let me just tell you how much quicker I would have achieved a lot of these numbers. Like, it's a hypothetical situation, of course, but that's right. I see the feedback. I see people say things like, I followed your technique and I got a PB every single day. I see that. You know what you should do? There's actually a YouTube video from Matt Diavella. He came to me, he's a fellow, I don't want to say fellow YouTuber, he's a big YouTuber. You want to put the link here? You should check that link up here. Click the link here. That's 100 Days of Powerlifting. Matt Diavella, he's a YouTuber, really big YouTube account. He's an excellent videographer and editor, and he made the sickest video. He did 100 Days of Powerlifting with me. And we took him from, you'll see, like he's like 70 something kilograms. I don't know, 70 something, 75, call it. And he came to me with, you know, it was like 150 kilo deadlift, something like that, 100 kilo bench, and 120 kilogram squat. We took him to 160 squat in 16 weeks. We took him to 200 kilo deadlift in 16 weeks. You know how many years it took me to get a 200 kilo deadlift, for example? And he came, he's like, how long does this stuff take? And I was like, I don't know, let's just see. Do everything properly, and let's just see. Yeah, so we went to a 200 kilo deadlift. He's not like a professional athlete. I don't want to say he's weak or anything like that, but that's not his sport. He's a minimalist. Go and check him out. You probably already know him. You're probably already following him. And the video that he made was sick. Watch that video and you're going to learn exact process that I took him through. It was a 16-week program split up into 4 by 4 different weeks. It was a specific strategy to get to competition day. And yeah, so when people say, what's the potential? How long will it take me to get to this strong? I often say, I don't give a shit. You know, it takes 10 years to get properly strong. I don't give a shit how long it'll take you to get, you know, your first milestone. I don't care. That's not where it's at. Don't worry about that 100 kilo bench or 140 bench or whatever it is. There's so much you can do if you do it for 10 years consistently. But at the end of the day, people do want to know the answer of how long will it take to get my first 200 kilo deadlift or whatever it might be. Go and check that video. I may be a little bit biased because it was I was a star in that video, but at the same time, sick video. Okay, so we've got one more set. As promised, I'm gonna do an AMRAP. So in my head, so especially on the last set, I was thinking, do I have 4 or 5? Yeah, I think I can do 5. I think the 5th rep will be tough, but I think I can do it. So I'm gonna go for 5 on this last set.
9 RP, maybe less.
Maybe more.
Really?
Yeah, because it's the last set. Do you know what I mean? Like, why do you save reps in reserve? So you can have, so there's a few reasons, so that you can allow room for progression from week to week, but also so you can have a successful set after set after set. So the whole session's successful, not just the first set, right? But if this is my last set, what am I saving energy for? I'm not gonna do another heavy set, so we'll send that on the last set. Like, that's just one of many strategies. It's not how I always do it, but this feels quite light. Like, I should be able to do, just to give you a bit of perspective, I should be able to do 160 for 10 reps right now. I would be able to do that for 10 reps. Not Spotto, like just normal up and down, 10 reps. So 160 for 3 kind of is easy. It is a conservative week 1. Five reps, good one. So I reckon maybe I had a 6. So that was RPE 9. That was RPE 9. Good one. So I reckon, yeah, I'll stick to the plan and go up by 5 kilograms every week.
We're gonna watch it.
We have to watch it, don't we, Musti? Let's see. I'll tell you now, this unrack feels uncomfortable. Ha!
So comfortable.
That was like RPE 8. But it's deceiving because it kind of gets, it's not the same curve of fatigue, right? So you've got like linear fatiguing if it's just like a normal rep, but this is more exponential fatigue because of the longer Spotto pause, right? So the first rep, easy. Second rep, kind of easy. Third rep, it's like the fatigue kicks in a lot quicker with these ones. So it's not as predictable. So that if I did another rep, I'm certain I had 6 reps, of course, when I'm looking at that, it looks like I had 7 reps. Maybe the 6th rep would have gone really, really slow, you know? But anyway, when I look at that, that looks like I definitely had 7 reps. Well, one more thing that I had to do. So that's the end of benching. Except someone asked me if I could do 30 reps on a 100 kilogram bench press. And I said, probably. So may as well do that next. I'm only going to do 30 though. So if it looks like there's more, fine. Like I don't need to beat myself up just to do this for a request, for a special request. But I think 30 reps on 100 kilograms is fine. Is fine. I don't want to just rep it out just for the sake of, hey, Instagram, look how cool I am. I can do so much on 100 kilograms. But at the same time, I kind of do. But I'm not going to. For the sake of the program, I'll do a set of 30 because I think that's not going to interfere with the remainder of my program. So I'll do a set of 30, then after that, we're going to do some accessory exercises. All right, so this is just a quick YOLO set, and we'll go for 30 reps. Go for 30 easy reps. Hopefully, it's really easy. I'm not going to do Spotto. I'm just going to go up and down and rep the hell out of it. Good chest pump for a Friday. You know what's funny? I know that 30th rep was fast, but it felt like there was not many more reps to go. So it's deceiving. High rep stuff is really deceiving. It's like fast and then nothing. But in all honesty, I don't think I had 40 today. I've done the best I did on my 40th birthday. I was 105 kilos. So I benched 105 for 40 reps. They were messier than that for sure. They were really bouncy. Those were kind of, I don't know, a little bit paused. Maybe they weren't. They felt like they were a little bit paused and controlled. No, for some of them, not really. It's not really paused, but for me, in my head, it's a slight pause, like bang, pause, bang, rather than bounce, 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 which is what a lot of people are doing with these high rep sets, is bouncing, bouncing, bouncing. The last few reps, I definitely paused. Yeah, I probably had 35. If I did bouncing reps, maybe a little bit more. Maybe if I did it fresh, maybe a little bit more. Maybe I could do 40. Next, we're going to do some back and some more dumbbell work. So shoulder pressing, what I'm thinking about is I want to do pull-ups, but pull-ups are just so damn heavy. I'm going to do assisted pull-ups. So this is the next thing. With pull-ups, you know, and me, I'm a strong guy. Why are you doing assisted pull-ups? Because I like to do same technique with the pull-up as I do with the pull-down. So what rep range do you do with the pull-down? I do, you know, like kind of 10 to 15 rep range with the pull-down. With the pull-up, a lot of people just accept it's heavy, so you kind of do like five reps, I don't know, 5 to 10 reps. For me, I don't like to do less than 10 reps on my pulling exercises because I think that it takes you out of position when you're going so heavy. So the objective for me with my pulling exercises isn't to win a 1 rep max pull-up competition. So that's, as a powerlifter, I don't need to have that level of strength. You know, some athletes do train for max strength on their pull-up. When you have a look at people doing like a 1 rep max or less than 5 for a pull-up, what does the technique look like? Think of that in your head. Does it look like how the back looks in a lat pull down? So what does that mean? For a pull down, I like full stretch, shoulders back and down. Now, some people can do that with their pull-ups, but a lot of people, when they go super heavy, they don't. They kind of go, right? And that's how their shoulders end up. So is that a bad thing? Depends what you think bad is, but I'll tell you what you're not doing is retracting and depressing the scapula, which is targeting those mid-back muscles, right? So a lot of times you think of a pull-up or whatever as lats. Of course it is. But also, one of the biggest problems that people have with shoulder pain is weak mid-back muscles. You don't really get too many people, like you got shoulder pain because you got weak lats. A lot of people hit their lats because you do with like whatever technique you want with a pull-up. So that action is going to hit lats, but you're not always guaranteed to get those mid-back muscles. So that's what I want when I do my pulling exercises. So that's what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna do band-assisted pull-ups. Up, okay. Feel set. So this is 37 kilograms. And so then my first work set will be 50s, and then I'm gonna do a feel set on a lat pull down. See this technique? That's the technique that I want you to do on a pull-up, when you do a pull-up. Shoulders back and down, full stretch, shoulders back and down. That's how you get complete upper back development. It's good for lats, good for mid-back. When you go rounding like that, there's no mid-back involvement. I guess that's the secret for the rear delt, is the technique that I've always done is kind of just, I don't know, that technique. I don't like to do any of this shit. I don't know if I've done a lot of rear delt raises or like isolation exercises in my career. I do a lot of external rotations, and I've always just kind of done that for many years. So this is coming from my background. My mentor in my early years in my career was Charles Poliquin, and he teaches a lot of the importance of strengthening the external rotators of the shoulder. There's 3 muscles that externally rotate your shoulder. Infraspinatus, teres minor, they're part of the rotator cuff group, and the rear deltoid also externally rotates. So I used to religiously perform external rotations at the end of all of my upper body sessions. Still do sometimes, not all the times, but I would say that contributed a lot to my development of my rear delts, but I think it's largely genetics as well. So I'll tell you now, on the end of my deadlift sessions, my rear delts get jacked as well. Yeah. So, all right, next up, we're gonna go 50 kilo shoulder press. I'm doing it with a little bit of a pause as well. Pause, drive, pause, drive. So I felt like that was a bit of a pause, pause, up, pause, instead of just going bang, bang, bang. So it's a slight variation from my last phase. You know, when I do variations from phase to phase, it's another funny discussion. Of course, you're going to hear, I'm always going to talk about the arguments for and against everything that I do, because you're probably going to hear it in social media. That's the problem with too many people having a voice. A lot of people say 4-week programs, which is what I like to follow, is too short. You should take them for 6 or 8 weeks so that you can get the most out of that program. My opinion is it's pretty hard to progress every single week for 8 weeks. You know, I've worked with people that do follow programs for 8 weeks, and it's like they get stuck on like week 4, week 5. They can't go any further. They've maxed out their failing reps, and then their coach is telling them to go for another 3 weeks because, you know, apparently 4 weeks is too short, and they're stuck not progressing every week. So the last 3 weeks of the program, not always, but sometimes, they're failing reps and training sucks. So I look at that and I think, you're not enjoying this, that sucks. Like, you're training too hard every single week. Just because your coach is fixated on a number thinking 4 weeks is bad, 8 weeks is good, that's not the case at all. Neither is good or bad. In my opinion, I'll tell you what is bad. If you've selected the loads incorrectly, you're failing reps and the program's not completed, and you've got to try and go heavier every week and you can't, okay? You make up your mind logically. Is that good or bad? I don't think it's good. So the negative of doing only 4 weeks, this is the argument against doing 4 weeks, is too short, it's too much variation. Well, the variation that I'm doing, I'm not going from like squats to star jumps. Every exercise that I'm doing has a very logical progression. It's a very small change. One leads on to the next. So I went from squats to pause squats, then I'll bring it back to no paused again. I went from bench press to Spotto press, and then I'll go back to normal bench press again, and I'll change the rep ranges and change the loads. So those are the variations that I'm changing. Small part of the movement. I'm not completely giving myself an overhaul. There's always going to be relevance from one phase to the next. They all lead on to each other. So the pause squats and the pause bench allows me to stop from lifting maximal loads. It's slightly less weight for a phase. Not much weight, but it's slightly less weight, which is less stressful for me. Before I then come back to another heavy phase again. So 4-week programs also allow me to progress for 4 weeks, go heavier. It's like you can't keep going heavy forever. So 4 weeks for me is like a nice sweet spot. So anyway, I'll do a set of pull-ups now. So this band isn't much. Probably prefer to do more band assistance. I feel like this is the wrong one. Anyway, whatever. I feel that band gave me a whole lot of not much at all. So 8s it is. I was hoping for 10s, but I think if I could have done 10, but that's when the technique would have gone, yeah, which I don't want to do. One more set of each. After this, I'm going to do some shoulder health exercises. I'll probably do some more face pulls. I love that. So there you go. So there's a little bit of rear delt action for you. So I'll do face pulls to the top of the head, which is, you know, mid-back, and then we go externally rotate. So if you just do it to the neck, great exercise. That's mid-back and rear delts. But then when you go top of the head, it's those same muscles, but then external rotators as well. So I'll do that now. Until then, if you haven't subscribed already, do me a favor, click subscribe, and I'm going to keep on producing good quality content for you if you consider this good quality content. Tomorrow, I've got my seminar, but before that, this is a challenge. I've got to go heavy deadlifts because I don't really have time otherwise. So I've got to come in. My seminar starts at 10 and it's a full class. So I've got to try and get my session in before that. So I'll start at 8 o'clock. Oof, that's going to be tough for me because I'm used to training at about 11. Anyway, I'll do my deadlifts tomorrow and we'll record it for you guys as well. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed the session. See you soon. It wasn't a special session, you know? Like it was just an easy session, but he was there for me.